Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll get the meeting started. This is for the January 5th, 2022 Wetlands meeting. Want to do a roll call, please?
Yes, there we go. Robert Hammond,
I'm here.
Rich Berlandi,
Here.
Dave Fox,
Here.
Robert Eisner,
Here.
Neil Kelsey,
Here.
Mark Simpson,
Here.
and Ned Stachin.
Here.
Oh, and sorry, Emily Burke. Rick.
I'm here. I've been gone for so long, but I'm here.
No problem. I had a piece of paper at the bottom. I forgot to slide it down.
Totally fine.
Everybody's here, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we'll get right to it. New business, 9 Washington Circle.
Right.
Okay. So that's us. And I think we had a chance to meet with Bruce over at the site again, my contractor and I, and my contractor's logged on. So we have some new updates. We're gonna go with a smaller hot tub, which means we're not gonna have to dig and pour concrete. It's gonna be like a wood base there, like the rest of the deck. So there's gonna be no more digging, which I think will even further minimize the impact to the wetlands. And the size is also smaller. And we established that we thought that the previous deck was 12 feet deep. And so we're back at 12 feet deep here, just replacing what was there before.
I've got the I have the earlier plan if anybody wants to see the differences.
I think the bigger concern was initially when the discussion focused around a 22-foot long swimming hot tub or whatever you want to call it, based on the original information that came in. So I'm just glad we're clarifying where we're at with this position.
Yeah, so this one is
the change of the plans.
What was that?
Yeah, so-
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, this hot tub is a lot smaller. It's only 13 feet wide, so it's gonna be, much smaller than before. The other one I think was 8 feet by 20. This one's 7.5 by 13, so it's quite a bit smaller.
And you're still looking for the deck, correct?
Yeah, and we're still looking to rebuild the deck. So we have the deck the same dimensions as the original existing deck.
Yep.
At the site, and yeah, with that hot tub in the corner.
And the dock is still a go? That's what you're also looking for?
Yes, yeah, and the dock we'd still like to continue with that. We hadn't heard any major concerns with the dock, so the same plan as before.
Okay. Anything else you want to add at this point in time, or just go to the commission members and see if they have any questions on the project?
Yeah, I'm all set with what I have here on my end.
Okay. Change it up this week. Ned, let you go first. Any questions, comments?
So you're not putting in a concrete pedestal for the hot tub now. You're just gonna put it on the deck or put it on a lower section of the deck?
Yeah, exactly. So the previous one, because of the weight, it really needed a concrete. With this smaller one, it's gonna do just fine with more of like a built wood frame base instead. So that's where the change was from the previous one.
Okay, and that section is also going to be on the hand dug concrete columns. Yeah. Okay. And there's no changes from what we had discussed on the deck at our site visit?
I don't think so. Just the change was, we knew the concerns regarding the concrete and the digging. So, we went back and went with a smaller model, which I think helps with solving some of those issues from before. So
Okay.
just kind of what we discussed.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ned. Mark?
So this drawing we're looking at, this is the original drawing? Was it-
That's the revised drawing.
Yeah, this is the new one. This was
All right,
13 feet before.
So, okay, so it's the length of the house, 35 feet is the length of the house? Because I remember seeing something about the house being 30 feet long. And so this is not sticking out at all.
No, yeah, it's not sticking out at all. The house is 35 feet.
Okay. And the width is going to be 12 feet, you said?
Mhm.
I have no other questions.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Neil?
No, based on this drawing, I don't have any further questions. I assume we'll talk about the dock into the pond at some other point tonight, or?
We can, I know we talked about it at the November meeting. And so that, you know, we have the same plan still in place, like what we discussed at the November virtual meeting and then in person when we met at the site.
Okay, so no changes to that.
Yeah, no changes because we didn't, you know, hear objections.
Yep, okay. Okay, thank you. Nothing further from me.
All right, thanks. Robert?
A lot of the concerns that we had discussed at the property had been addressed because you're not going to be having the amount of excavation, the installation of the concrete wall, where the dugout material was going to go. I also had some initial concerns about expanding the deck, but you've now scaled back to essentially replacing what was there with the footprint and just adding the hot tub. So I don't have any substantive concerns. I just have one question, probably best directed to Bruce. And that just, do we have a soil and erosion control plan that will address, you know, any minimum potential for impact during construction?
No, they didn't submit anything, but that's something that we could easily talk with them. If you want to make it a condition of approval, we could do that, or staff could just work with them during the building permit phase.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. And yeah, I think it would be because of the close proximity to the lake that there would need to be a basic soil and erosion control plan. So for the applicant, I directed it to the town staff. They can help you with what's needed just to protect the lake during the period when the deck and hot tub are being installed. Those are the only comments I have.
Thanks, Robert. Dave?
No questions.
Emily?
I have nothing at all.
Rich?
No questions.
I do have one question. Bruce, if you can go back up to the new diagram, I just want to get something clear in my head. Are those stairs going down to the hot tub, or is that going to be even part of the deck so that you basically can go right from the deck into the hot tub? I'm just trying to figure out if you're planning on putting stairs there, because I can't quite tell if some of those supports are stairs or what.
I think maybe John, my contractor, is on too, so he might be able to best address that. As far as I know, there aren't any stairs to the hot tub. The hot tub is going to be above the deck by about either 1.5 feet or 2 feet as recommended by
Okay.
the hot tub people. And so there's no stairs going in or out of them. It's just
Okay.
sitting up, going into it.
Yeah, just the way the drawing was, I couldn't tell if those were proposed stairs or something like that. So I'm just trying to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You on, John? Yes.
Oh yeah, I thought I couldn't hear me. Yeah, no
sure.
stairs.
These are stairs?
Those are just the floor joists.
Oh, floor joists,
Okay.
okay.
All right. No, that's fine. That's what I was just double
Yeah, it's gonna be
checking,
down
so-
about you know, 2.5 feet from the top of the deck to be another deck, basically is what it's gonna be.
And how high is the hot tub?
The hot tub's 47 inches, so it's gonna stick up about 1.5 feet roughly above the deck. So you can sit on it to spin and get into it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking from a safety precaution. I know if you've got a swimming pool in a backyard, you need to have the fencing around the pool. I'm just wondering if this is going to be the same
Well, it's got
scenario
a cover
where
on it, so
in order to meet the building code, you're going to have some type of a railing around it.
I talked to Starrett Pools in Bristol a lot, and this is kind of what they had recommended. The previous hot tub actually that was on the site when we purchased the property was flush with the deck. And so Dave over at Starrett Pools said actually they should be above the deck by 1.5 feet to 2 feet. That's really the best position for them, and no railing or anything because they have a cover.
Okay. I mean, that's something that, you know, when, assuming this goes through and you pull a building permit, they'll be able to tell you whether or not there's anything you need to do for any type of railing or things of that nature for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Because of a quote unquote potential nuisance, attractive nuisance, I think is the terminology on it. So there are kids in the neighborhood. You just want to make sure there's no accidents out there. But that's something you can work with the building official on.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions. I know that when we were at the site, one of the things that we were doing was talking with, I guess it's the president of the association over there in terms of how the deck needs to be constructed. So I don't have any questions on how the deck is being proposed to be put in. I did have some earlier, but my questions were answered by the association president explaining what the rules were for the decks. So just again, does anybody else have any other questions, or is everybody okay at this point in time?
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question if I
Okay.
can. This is Commissioner Eisner. A question goes to Bruce. The staff comments raised a question about how the galvanized posts were going to be anchored to the bottom of the lake. Is there a recommendation on that, Bruce, or do we need more information?
I have to go back in the minutes, but I think all of the contractors online, I thought he was using the screw type anchor.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Yeah, and tying in with that, I think one of the other things that we heard is that they actually lower the lake every year. So that eliminated, or one of the questions that I had with potential damage on the dock. So I'm okay here. So, okay. I'm not hearing much in the way of any real opposition on this now that we've sort of cleared up what's going on with the deck and the hot tub. Does somebody care to, well, let me go back. The application's been accepted, so we're at the point now where we can render a decision. Is that correct? Bruce and or Shannon?
Determination at first, and then a vote.
Determination of significant impact?
Yeah, Joel, you got to make your
Yep.
determination
Yeah,
first.
I just didn't remember what we needed to do there. So, I mean, my take is I don't think it's a significant activity. Basically, it's replacing something in kind, but again, I don't know how everybody else feels. So quickly go through Rich,
No, I don't feel this is significant.
Emily,
I do not think this is significant.
Dave,
Yeah, replacement, so it's not significant.
Robert,
Non-significant regulated activity.
Neil,
I agree.
Mark,
It's not significant.
Ned,
Not significant, and we had a site walk, so we could be comfortable with that.
okay, so can I get a motion that this is not a significant activity, please?
So
So
moved
moved.
by Eisner.
Second by statute.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, okay, so that part of it's okay. Now for the application itself. My questions have been answered, and it sounds like most of the questions other people had have been answered. So somebody want to make a motion on this one?
I would move approval of application 2121, 9 Washington Circle with 2 conditions. First being that a soil and erosion control plan be developed for approval by town staff. And the second condition being that the schedule for construction be approved by town staff so as to coordinate any low water line activity.
Okay,
I'll second that.
second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Stanchion.
I'll just go through the list again to see if anybody has any questions or comments. Ned,
No,
Mark,
No.
Neil,
No.
Robert,
No,
Dave,
All set.
Emily,
Done.
Rich.
All set.
I don't have any either. So have a motion on the floor to approve this with the 2 conditions. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining. Okay. Good luck with it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 48 River Road.
We've got both the contractor and the homeowner online here.
I'm here.
It's Hal, and is the contractor on, Hal? Where is he?
I haven't talked to him since yesterday.
Yeah, he said he would be here online when I talked with him. I know panels, you see it's.
I think I can answer the questions you might have.
Yeah. See, I don't see him in here. But the last presentation we had last week, or at the last meeting, focused around the panels being located in this area here. There was the question of this is going to be rotated, this solar array, and the contractor did actually confirm that he would be doing that. And then one of the other comments we had was with regards to the anchoring system for these and how it was going to be done. And he submitted the following submittal on this right here. It's these screw type anchors. They are 2.5 inch scheduled 40 pipes that get that actually get screwed down, and then the frame will get anchored onto that. It's gonna be 6 of those, 60 inches deep. So it looks like the soil erosion or the disturbance will be minimal based on that.
Okay, and Bruce, my understanding is there was a bit of a change in terms of the location. Do you want to explain that?
Well, there was some back and forth on it. Let me get some pictures here. Right here. Here's the house. The plan is to put it down in this area somewhere here. It's, if you look at that plan, I think it was 65 feet off the house.
Yes.
Yeah, 65 feet off the house. So they originally wanted to bring it back to 25 feet, but it's going to put it into the area of the actual septic system. So they went back to the 65 feet. So it'll be 65 feet with this in a more east and west lateral orientation.
Okay. So,
You also mentioned you were concerned about erosion or whatever. I got a load of wood chips. If I put a load of wood chips on it, would that suffice?
I think that's probably something that if this goes forward, we would probably have you work something out with town staff, similar to what was just done with the application prior to this.
Okay.
I think it would depend upon where they're going. I mean, it may be something that if it's not that complicated of a site, something like that might work, but I would prefer to leave something like that up to the discretion of the town. You know, once they know exactly sort of where it is, work out a plan with them. But I mean, people have used wood chips for certain activities. They've used them as berms, they've used them as filter material. So, I mean, that may be a possibility, but I think it's something that I would like to see worked out with the town. I have
Okay.
my preference in terms of using silt socks when you're close to a wetland area, just to be on the safe side. But we'll see how other commissioners feel about that.
Okay.
So Ned, I'll start with you. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I was mostly concerned about the excavation of the supports, and since they're the spin-in posts, that I think it shouldn't be a problem. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
I'm just trying to figure out the change of position of the solar array. Does that mean it's going to be further away from the wetlands?
Yeah, they're just gonna turn this, see what happens is, because it is 65, they can't fit it with the septic system, so they'll turn it and do it something like this. And if we go back to the pictures here, there's the house, the panel will be somewhere down in here.
I guess it doesn't matter, but it seems like more of the panels will be closer to the wetlands versus the other position.
Well, I think they're both good. They're gonna be in the lawn area, no matter what. The plan shows it will say from here, going out this way, but instead they're gonna turn it and it'll be like this.
Yeah, what I'm saying is more of the panels will be in closer proximity to the
Yes.
wetlands than before.
Yes, exactly.
But how many feet would that be? Still, what was the footage between that and the wetlands?
They don't call out an exact dimension. So it just calls it off to be used in this actual lawn area here. Again, they're gonna
Do you know how far would it be away from the wetlands? Estimate?
I would say maybe 5 feet, 10 feet. Again, the panels will be tilted away from the wetlands. They'll be tilted in this direction, so all of the runoff will come off in this direction, hit the yard, and then run off down this way.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you. Neil?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Okay, Robert?
Just to reiterate that there should be a soil and erosion control plan that's developed in working with the town staff. The site is relatively flat, but the installation is going to be pretty close to the wetlands. So whatever land disturbance is needed for the anchoring, the solar system, just with a basic soil and erosion control plan that can minimize any impact to the wetland. And that would also include restoration of the grass and what's going to be underneath the solar panels, which are comments by the staff as well. So just a soil and erosion control plan is my only comment and concern. That's all. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Robert. Dave?
No questions.
Emily?
Can we go back to the aerial, the map one more time?
This one here, or is it here? This
Area.
one? Okay.
You don't know, I'm totally good.
Okay.
All
Right, Rich?
No questions.
All right, the only comment I have is, Robert brought it up, was making sure that after the equipment is out there to install the system, that I think you need to go back and, as part of the erosion control plan, I think we were looking at, is making sure that the grassed area that might be disturbed is reseeded. I don't envision any problems growing grass underneath the panels, because it's not as though you're totally blocking out the sun with row after row after row of panels. So that shouldn't be a problem. You're probably going to have to mow the lawn every once in a while, but that's probably something that can be done with a small hand mower. So I don't think that's a problem. But again, because it's so close to the wetlands, I think the grass needs to be restabilized in that area once the system is installed, at least based on what I'm hearing from commission members and their attitude towards the project. So I don't have anything else. So Bruce and or Shannon, are we just at the point to vote on this? I don't think. we
Oh,
need to-
I've got you down for determining significance as well and then
Okay.
vote.
All right, I figured I'd just ask. My memory's not as good as it used to be.
No problem.
So, I mean, I'm taking the approach that this is a non-significant activity. It's work that's being done in the residential area. It's already a grassed area, so I would say it's non-significant. But again, I'll go through the list. Rich,
I would say non-significant.
Emily,
I think non-significant.
Dave,
I agree.
Robert,
Non-significant activity.
Neil,
Agree, not significant.
Mark,
It is not.
Ned.
Not significant.
Okay, so can I get a motion, please, to determine that this is a non-significant activity?
So move, Statute.
Is there a second?
Dave, a second.
Okay, so have a motion on the floor that this is a non-significant activity. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Okay, so it's non-significant. And what's your pleasure about the application? Would somebody care to make a motion
I
on
would-
it?
I would-
Or do you need
I
more
would
time
make-
to think?
This is statute. I would make a motion to approve it with the condition that they work with town staff on a final appearance or material for underneath and for any kind of straw matting or that need to be put down, straw socks
So
or
any-
whatever.
So just coming up with an approved erosion control plan?
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there a second?
Second by Eisner.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve the application at 48 River Road with the condition of an approved erosion sedimentation control plan and making sure that the site is in essence restored. So those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Pond LLC 7476 Batterson Park Road. And I have to admit, after reading some of this material, I did not realize that Wolf Pit actually extended east beyond Route 6. So I do have a general question for the town. Is that an official town road? Has it been abandoned? What is the status of that road? Because they're saying in here that one of the boundaries, which I guess is the northern boundary, is the unpaved Wolf Pit Road.
It's an old,
Made a determination on that.
yeah, it's an old paper road. I don't know if it's been officially abandoned. I'd have to look it up and see. But I know, like I said, I know that Wolf Pit Road used to cross over there before 84 was actually constructed. So 84 had cut that off, and as
Well,
such,
Route 6 is really what cut it off in that area. Wolf Pit used to extend over to Farmington Avenue, but they ended that and looped the road around running parallel to Farmington Avenue. The only reason I know is because this is where I grew up, and it's been over 60 years since I've been there. So my mother's still over by the school, so I'm well aware of the area. I think this was originally owned by Boschman, the school bus driver. So anyway, with that, we have a new application before us for some multifamily development. So if the applicant is here and they would like to at least give their side of the story in terms of what it is they're trying to propose.
Yeah, thank you. For the record, Tom Daly with SLR Consulting. Also with me this evening is Megan Raymond, who will present after me. So thank you. Good evening to the commission. Happy New Year. We're pleased to be before you to present to you a new application for a multifamily development on the parcel, as the chair described, as 74 and 76 Batterson Park Road. And what you see before you on the screen is just an overall view. It's the USGS map for the area. This commission obviously is very knowledgeable, but so we have on this particular site, we have directly to our north is Batterson Park or Camp Curran. To the east, we have Batterson Park Pond. To the south is that south all the way down to, I guess, Finneman Road is all large office buildings that go all the way to the south there. And then to our west is I-84. Next slide. Thanks, Bruce. The next slide is just an aerial photograph of the site conditions today. So what's out there today is the subject parcel is approximately 34 acres in size. On site, as you can see, about 50% of the site is already developed as an office building. It's 2 office buildings that I believe were built in the late 80s out there, and they've been very successful. Our client has had purchased those quite a few years ago, has recently made some significant investments to renovate those buildings, and really has had almost a rebirth out there and a very high occupancy rate in these buildings. But to the north of these 2 buildings, there is vacant land. And the Town Planning and Zoning Commission adopted, I guess, a couple of years ago, the innovation zone, which is really an overlay zone that allows for, you know, mixed use or complementary uses, or also about leveraging existing developments and then, you know, making, getting greater value out of those. So we are before this commission, and ultimately we'll move on to the planning and zoning, but we would be going under the new innovation zone zoning to do that. Next slide. Thanks, Bruce. One thing that you'll notice is that when this project was originally approved, there was actually 3 buildings and approved on it. And on this side, we happen to have the old plans on this one, and they call it phase 1, 2, and 3. Well, 3 was never built. And I think this commission probably, except for the medical office buildings by UConn, can probably not remember the last time a sizable office building has been built anywhere in the Harford County. So the reality of that being built in the future or since the 80s is not really practical. But as you can see, they had a large parking area there in that phase 3. So it was really 3 buildings, but they never built the 3rd building. And this is the same orientation. So we have north straight up on this map. Next slide, Bruce. And this is, we'll get into it a little bit more, but because the site is so large, we wanted to give you some context. So on the left-hand side is the existing conditions. And you can see that blank space where that building 3 was proposed. And on the right side of the plan is what we're proposing, which is a single multifamily building surrounded by parking. Next slide. And from an existing condition, so we had a brand new topographic survey and a property survey done on this. And as the chair indicated, the survey does call, it calls it as former Wolf Pit Road. So I don't know what former means, whether it has been abandoned or not been abandoned, but that's how the survey map did show it. And we bought it. We're not going over there. Obviously, it's not on our property. It's not like a paper street half on our land. It's clearly off the property. But this is a blow up of the area that we're talking about this evening. So on the left side, you can see the green line. That is a wetland line that was flagged by Megan Raymond. It's fairly consistent with the plan, the wetland line that's been, you know, back back in the 80s, except this is it's more detailed. And Megan will get a little more deeper into there. There's some wetland features out there that were clearly would appear to be man-made as part of the original development. The yellow line represents your photo and there's not a lot of large vegetation. It was clearly cleared in there. They actually started to put the storm drainage in there. They actually placed electrical easements to serve the new building, but there's no electrical lines in it as far as we can tell. But there's storm drainage catch basins kind of out in the woods that they were preparing for. You also see just along that upland review area, there's a kind of gray hatched area. That is actually a sanitary sewer line that serves the existing parcel and kind of runs through that area. So we have basically, if you look down on the wetlands, the green area, that's about elevation 354. It rises up to the middle of the site. The middle of the site is the highest point in the site, and that's about elevation 378. And then it continues to peel down to the other side, obviously moving down towards the pond. And Batterson Park Road on the far right side of this map is about 336. So, but the main part of the site is actually pretty level. Now, I'm not sure if they had leveled it out as part of when they were kind of mass grading out this, but pretty minimal amount of earthwork is required for us to build this building. But as I said, so we have existing drainage that is already running through here and discharging to the wetlands. That lobe that you'll see that kind of up in the wetland area, I believe Megan will describe that as a kind of a stormwater basin that was built when the original project was built. Next slide, Bruce. So the plan we're here before you this evening is for 199 units of apartments in a single kind of building with 3 different wings. It's approximately, it's a 4-story building and 256 parking spaces. To the left-hand side, you'll see in that little, the crotch of the building, that'll be an amenity area with a pool, patio, fire pits to serve the amenities. So you really come in on the right-hand side of the building, and that's kind of the back side of the private side of the building. The area that is shown there, I identified the Stormwater Basin area. That's the activity that's closest to the wetlands. We have kind of nestled in the Stormwater Basin, kind of within the wetlands there. The cross-hatched area you're seeing is actually areas to be seeded with a native wetland seed mix or restoration mix. And then also part of this is we worked with Megan and we established additional kind of buffer planting. So where that new clearing limit is, we're proposing new native wetland, not wetland plants, but berry producing red twig dogwood, high bush blueberry, those type of species that would be planted along that edge where the clearing is. So we do not have any direct wetland activities associated with this project. We are before you for area activities within your upland review. As you can see from the plan, we have a very small portion of the building that falls in your upland review. We do have some parking and a loop road. We have a loop road both for fire access and good circulation around the entire building. But the primary activity we're before you this evening is for the installation of the stormwater basin adjacent to the wetlands. Next slide, Bruce. So as part of this project, we prepared a very detailed stormwater management plan, a plan that looked at both water quality and quantity. About 2/3 of the site goes to the wetlands and about 1/3 of the site drains to Batterson Park. So on the right-hand side of the project, that small 1/3 that does go to Batterson Park, we pick up the drainage with catch basins that is then routed through a water quality chamber or a swirl concentrator, as some people describe it. That'll be our first line of defense for water quality. And then we enter into a stormwater chamber system. We will have an isolator row on the stormwater chamber system to provide additional water quality. And then ultimately that connects to an existing catch basin that's already on site. And that goes down towards Batterson Park. Yeah, right there. Thank you, Bruce. On the left-hand side of the site, we have once again a storm drainage system that kind of picks up the drainage around the site. We'll be discharging into first of all, we go through another water quality chamber. So we have one on both sides in both watersheds. And we are going to a vegetated stormwater basin. We didn't have one on the others. We went with underground chambers on the other side due to some steeper topography between us and Batterson Park. There was not really enough room to be effective over there. So we chose underground on that side. But on this side, especially adjacent to the wetlands, we went with a vegetated basin. It's a 2-cell basin, so the upper portion of the basin is a sediment forebay that allows, so we go through a water quality chamber, we go to the sediment forebay, that potentially overflows into the larger basin. Both of these systems are designed for the 2 through the 100-year storm and also provide the DEP recommended water quality volume minimum. Then we, to the left there, then we have the discharge to the wetlands. And in this particular area, because we kind of had some flat gradient, we installed a level spreader. So this is more like a bathtub instead of just having a flared end section that would just go right to the wetland. We did basically a horizontal level spreader. So the intent there is the water would hit that area, fill up, and then kind of spill over like a bathtub to the point where it's more moving into the wetlands on a linear basis as opposed to just a point discharge. And we saw that as just trying to slow it down and get it kind of spread out. One thing you'll do see around the basin is we will be, there's off to, if you show Bruce, just off to the outer edge of the upper right of the basin, there's an existing drainage discharge that already exists there. We'll be maintaining that, but because the pipe was going through the middle of the basin, we are going to pipe it up and around. Yeah, right there. So we kind of pipe it up and around, but basically that's stormwater that goes there today, and we're going to remain that. There is a secondary discharge just to the left of that. That's going to be eliminated, but that was simply handling the random catch basins that looks like they put out there thinking they were going to build this project at a later date. So it really doesn't carry anything. We're going to pick up all that water and reroute that through our system. Next slide, Bruce. As part of this application, we obviously had to put together a very detailed erosion control plan. The benefits here is we are kind of the top of the site and the water's kind of going off in different directions. So we don't have to handle one of those sites that we have 5 acres running through it, which is always a challenge when you're trying to construct a project that there. We're at the top of the hill, so we're really just dealing with the rain that falls off out of the sky. But we kind of match the existing watershed. So we have water quality erosion controls on both sides. We're thinking we're going to put a sediment basin on the right-hand side to catch that water. And then downgraded that we have silt fence. On the other side of the site, we will use the sediment forebay as a sediment basin. During construction, we'll have diversion burns that kind of push that water through there. And then down adjacent to the wetlands, we would have a row of silt fence, and then adjacent to that, we would have a row of straw wattles. Because we obviously that's a stronger resource over there, and we want to make sure we have some other controls. We also have some grading along that edge of parking. We'll be putting erosion control blankets on that area to get that stabilized really quickly because it's adjacent to the wetlands. With that, I think that's my last slide, and that's the overall of the site design. But I'm going to ask Megan Raymond to jump on board and walk you through her wetland flagging and her findings as it relates to wetlands.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Before Megan starts,
Yes.
Bruce, did the Johanssons just log off?
They did, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I sent them a message. We're all set. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to double check because it wasn't easy for them to stay on. Okay.
I just thought they were interested.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah, I was
Tom is
optimistic.
very entertaining.
Yeah, we're all set.
Introduce Megan.
Great. Good evening, guys.
So
My
next
name's-
slide, Bruce.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, we're ready to go.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Tom. Hello, Happy New Year. My name is Megan Raymond. I am a professional wetland scientist and registered soil scientist with SLR. And I have had some technical difficulties this evening, so please let me know if you can't hear me. I'm going through my phone, but then I have the video going on the computer, so we're all set. Thanks, Tom. So I became involved in the project in early April. April 8th, I went out to the site, the 34-acre site, to delineate the wetlands. And as Tom described, there is a wetland system on the property. It's approximately 7.8 acres in size. It extends approximately, it's the entire western portion of the site, existing between the existing improvements and the Interstate I-84 corridor. It's about 1,200 linear feet in length from north to south, and varies in width from about 400 feet to 900 feet. This is a mixed class wetland system in that it has a variety of ecologies within its boundary, some of which have been modified by man over time, such as these excavated basins. There's a stormwater basin that actively treats runoff from the existing office building to the south. There's also a stormwater basin to the north. That large 1.35 acre pond that we have in the central portion of the site, I think that was likely created when I-84 was put in. You see a lot of these large ponded features adjacent to interstates throughout the area, and I think that's not directly related to the existing development on the parcel, but rather a construct of I-84. But nonetheless, it's a man-made feature. There's diffuse flow, intermittent flow that does extend from north to south from the pond offsite to the south, and eventually winds its way to Batterson Park Pond and off to Bass Brook and South Park River, and then the Connecticut River. The natural portion, or the portions of the site that are wetlands rather, that are not modified, are underlain by glacial till soil. It's a Wilbraham Menlo soil. The wetland displays some structural heterogeneity in the forested areas, with a red maple canopy and a tussock sedge understory, and there's some non-native shrub species along the periphery and within the interior, and some vines. But overall, it's a large wetland system, occupying about a quarter of the site, and does provide a contribution to a number of recognized wetland functions, from localized flood flow alteration, groundwater recharge discharge, sediment toxicant retention, nutrient assimilation, and so forth. None of these features, none of these functions as they exist currently, are going to be modified by the proposed project. And the reason for that is primarily, as Tom described, given the robust stormwater management and the long-term to protect water quality, as well as the short-term measures from sedimentation and erosion control. The area where the site is going to be, the building is going to be located in the northern portion of the site, as Tom described, has been recently disturbed in the last 10, 20 years or so, and it's pretty much, or there's a portion of it that's a thicket of non-native autumn olive, and there's some other vegetation throughout, but it's a very undulating topography, but I mean not extreme undulation, but just little mounds of fill with autumn olive throughout, and that is going to serve as sort of the founding of the proposed building. So essentially, in evaluating the complex as a whole, of the 5.2 acres of 100-foot upland review area on the site, there is existing impervious within this area, about 1.28 acres of existing impervious in that your 150 rather upland review. We're increasing that. We are proposing 1.7 acres of work within the upland review, but only 0.4 of those acres are existing or new impervious. So we're increasing the impervious area within the 150 upland review slightly, but rather the bulk of the features within the upland review area will be comprised of pervious drainage features that will assist in the renovation of water, stormwater runoff from the property. I'm happy to answer any questions about the the wetland delineation or the site. We were out there at the time of the year in early April that we were able to determine that there are no special wetlands on the site. There's no vernal pools within these within the complex, wetland complex. The ponds are perennial, do not seasonally dry. And taking the site plan and the wetland function and landscape position as a whole, we're not looking to adversely affect the physical characteristics of the wetland. And that is by avoiding direct wetland impact and by ensuring that our stormwater management is appropriately sized and functioning in the long term. And obviously we have our stormwater or sedimentation and erosion control in the short term. So pleased to answer any questions, and thank you very much for listening.
While this map is still up, this is a question for either Megan or Tom. What's that open grate?
So that is what Tom had described previously about how there was some infrastructure up in the northern portion of the site, some old piping and infrastructure that never was connected to anything from the old building that was sited there.
And that will be left in place or removed, or?
It'll be removed.
Okay.
Removed.
It'll be removed. Yeah, it seemed like they went ahead and put some infrastructure in with the hopes probably they were then going to build phase 3, and they just never came along and did it.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just figured while this map was up, it was
Yeah.
easy to bring up the.
And there's a good, Bruce, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah, there's an overlay. Are you going to show
There
the
you go.
overlay?
So there's
That's
the
a good one.
overlay. So,
Yeah.
Essentially we're going to abandon all the existing utilities. They're just all in the wrong locations. So. But with that, to the chair, that concludes our presentation. And Meg and I are more than happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
All right, Rich, I'll start with you if you have any questions, comments. The other thing to keep in mind is, do we want to go out and take a look at the site? So.
I would say yes to take a look at it. The other question I had is, how close are we to Batterson, to the pond itself? Does the 125-foot, I mean the upland review area, touch the site on that side of the parcel?
It does not. Let's Bruce, maybe go back to the first slide, or no, maybe not the first, maybe the second one. I think Megan had a good aerial there on the second one.
Or maybe the USGS as well.
Yeah.
Give me a stop.
There one. So you can see right there, and the way Batterson Park, the pond, you can see on the right-hand side, it actually starts peeling away.
Oh, here, let me do this. I'll do this. So then. Yeah, where's the green? Just check the new share. Sorry, GIS. Can you see this? Can you see the GIS?
No.
No, you can't. All right, I gotta do it now.
But it's, as you can see, it's pretty far away. There's a pretty sizable piece of land, which I think that's Batterson Park, right?
Exactly.
And everything. So it's pretty, and as Batterson Park, actually the pond actually peels away from us a little bit. So it gets pretty far. Oh, there you go. Yeah, now we can see it, Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah. What the pond, or how close the pond was? What are you looking for?
I think the question was, is the pond within 150 feet of,
This pond here.
correct, as a regulated activity?
680.
Yeah.
760.
So, yeah, we're pretty far away. Yeah.
Okay. And that on this drawing, those purple lines, is that a drainage outfall I see from the parcel headed to the lake?
From the road, yes.
That was part of, go back to your other ones.
Yeah, it looks like that is a discharge that takes both some of our site and also takes Batterson Park Road.
That's where this comes in through the infiltrators.
Correct.
Comes down, connects, and then flows down to the pond.
So you'll be connecting to that system.
Correct. On our site. Yes.
That's all I have for now. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Emily?
My biggest interest at this moment was just the site's distance. I think it'll probably be worth going to take a look, but I don't have anything specific at this moment.
Thank you. Dave?
I don't have any questions at this time, but I agree it's something that we should probably look at.
Okay, thanks. Robert?
Yeah, could you pull up the plan that shows the wetland in the 150-foot buffer area? There was a yellow line. Yep, that one. Great, thanks. So generally, what's the separating distance from the wetlands to the disturbed area? Yeah, right now.
I work with Megan. I think we tried to hold a minimum of, except for the level spreader, I think we're at about 25 to 30 feet to the wetland.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, and I would support a site walk. It's obviously a sizable development, although it looks like all of the activity is only in the buffer zone. So with good prudent design, which I think we've heard tonight is incorporated, should be okay. But I favor doing the walk. Thanks.
Thanks, Robert. Neil?
My only question is, does anything flow, I guess it's towards the east, maybe southeast, across what the old Wolf Pit Road is there, towards what I believe is the Camp Current property?
There is probably, under existing conditions, there is some small, actually, Bruce, if you go one slide before this, the existing conditions, if you zoom in, you can see there's actually a fairly sharp bank there. So most of the, not a lot of water goes down there today. As you can see, as Megan said, it looks like somebody kind of, see this, that's kind of a high point. So a very little small bank does drain down there today. And under our proposal is we're essentially putting a curb there and not sending any water down to Wolf Pit or Camp Current over in that location.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Yeah, so we're kind of meant to, there's a 20 in this code for planning and zoning, because actually interesting, the property to the north is zoned residential. So when you're zoned residential next to innovation zone, you have to do a very robust 25-foot planting buffer. So the only area that will be draining there is that 25 the planting buffer.
Yeah, that's it, Neil?
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Mark?
I believe a sidewalk could be necessary. I don't really have questions, and this is not a question that really pertains to wetlands. What is how many floors is this new apartment complex?
It's 4 stories.
And what are the existing office buildings?
I think I'd have to look into that. I think they may be 3 stories, but they may be 3 or 4 stories out. It's been a while since.
I'm just curious how it all fits in.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have to say at this point.
Thanks, Mark. Ned?
Yeah, that Santa Ursula right away, is there going to be any movement of that, or is it going to remain as is?
It's going to remain is. If you go, Bruce, to the right, right there, there is an existing connection there. And we didn't know if it appears to be emergency access. It might benefit both parties. So we're going to maintain that same connection point, but it'll probably be gated or that. But there's no, that's it. Our primary access will all be to our existing, we're actually not even putting a new curb cutting onto Batterson Park. So we're not doing anything out onto Wolf Pit.
Tom, they, meeting with the owner and meeting with Camp Current, they had said this was put in when the office building was put in. This was like an overflow parking. Camp Current's parking lot is not that big. So
they use it. Okay.
When they have their large fundraisers, they let them use this to overflow park into here. The new owner said he was speaking with them, and they may still keep that agreement going with them.
So and we held that on our plan. but otherwise we have no physical connection to, over that property line.
Exactly.
And actually, as you can see, we're going to put a heavy landscape buffer along that entire line that basically eliminates our ability to kind of go into there.
That's all I had for now. I was a little curious about the limits of the wetland and how they, you know, what's peculiar? I mean, what's going on where it takes that jog inwards and was there a pool there at one time or?
No, it looks like that's where the two discharge points are existing. So Megan, and I think rightfully so, that was probably a stormwater basin put in for the original project. That's why, yeah, it does have that weird little, it doesn't look natural.
Right, right.
But I looked at the original plans. It's amazing how simple plans used to be for approvals back in the there wasn't much to the plans, so couldn't find that much detail. But Megan believes that when you see it, I think it'll really represent itself as a stormwater basin.
Just for my orientation, are these buildings that used to be Allstate office buildings, I think?
I think it's been a mixed, I don't know, you might know better. I used to go out there, Levy and Droney used to be in this building, and there was a lot of multi-tenant, different uses, I thought, but Allstate might have been in it.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. And I think a site visit is warranted.
Thanks. Couple of general questions. Leave this map up for the time being. And looking at where it's a sanitary sewer easement, correct?
It is,
That's
correct.
running from the buildings up to sort of the former Wolf Pit Road area?
Correct.
Is there an existing system in there at this point in time or not?
There is, and it serves the existing buildings, and we'll be tapping into that.
Okay, because then that part of the question that I have is that you will now be, at least it looks like you will be constructing part of at least the parking lot on top of the sanitary sewer easement. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yep. Yep. Part of it. Yeah. Right through there. And we'll be raising the manholes to grade.
Well, I was going a different route. Like, has anybody talked to the town about possibly relocating it so that it's not under the asphalt for the parking lot?
I think it's an easement to, I don't think it's a town sewer.
They had called for it to be a town of Farmington sewer way back when, but it never was transferred over to us or given to us an easement, and then we had looked at it earlier. We did a little bit of research and we verified that, and we don't really have any use for us to actually take that on. So
interesting.
I saw that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be a private sewer. And if we have to work with Bruce, if there's some, confusion in the land records on that, Bruce, and we have to kind of, I don't know, I'm not an attorney, but quick claim deed or something like that to kind of clear that up. We'll work with the town to do that. And we'll probably throw a camera down there and make sure it's in good quality before we start doing construction over it. And if there's any spot repairs, you do it then, and then you go on your way.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the perspective of this was a town-owned system.
Facility, yeah.
Trying to minimize any potential cost to the town if they have to go in and do repair work. It's one thing if it's you bring in the backhoe and you dig a little bit versus having to go in and repave a parking lot. So I know it was mentioned earlier, and you said 4-story buildings. Are those allowed in the innovation zone?
With a 5-6 vote. So we, before we proceeded, we actually did a balloon test. I mean, it's more of a zoning question, but we actually did a balloon test out here and determined that you could not see this building from anywhere we could find.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
Yeah, so it's a 5-6. I believe it's a 5-6 vote. So you're permitted in the zone under three things, but with a 5-6 vote, you can go to 4.
I was just raising the question because of what happened over on Farmington Avenue. So
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing here is we really, in this, the nice thing about this location is there's no real neighbors. But we worked early with Bruce and Shannon. And that was a question they had was, is this going to be visible? Because that's what came up on Corey. You're absolutely right.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't really have any other questions at this point in time. It's an interesting project for a piece of land that's been relatively dormant for quite a while. So I agree with the site visit. I think that would be appropriate.
And my only suggestion, if you are going to do a site visit, wear your boots. As Megan indicated, they left a lot of kind of undulations out there. So it gets a little soggy. Maybe it'll be frozen by the time you get out there. But I went out there and got pretty wet on the upper area. And it was just because I think they didn't grade it right because they thought they were going to come out. So wear your boots and wear some waterproof boots because you may need it.
Okay.
Tom, with regards to that, are the wetlands, has anyone been out there recently? Are the wetlands still flagged? Is it going to be easy to see?
Hi, it's Megan Raymond. We just put up the flags in April, so we can do a quick run through before the meeting and make sure that they're up. But I would think that the majority of them are up.
Yeah.
We're just looking at a subset of the line. It does extend, about 600 feet to the south there. But we'll run through it and verify.
Yeah, I can run out there. And if you do a site visit, there's actually, you basically go right to the turnaround. There's some parking there and you can dump right into the wetland. It's pretty convenient to get onto the site.
And actually, I do have one more question because I'm looking at, can you bring up figure 4, please?
Page 4? That one?
That's figure 4.
It might be in the end.
Proposed conditions.
The last one, Bruce, maybe?
It's a colored shell.
Yeah. There.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
I'm looking at what I would consider to be like the, get oriented here, where you have that emergency access right now.
Yes.
The roadway that ties into, what is that?
This here?
Yeah,
Oh.
up.
Oh, this here?
That's the Camp Current driveway.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, again, I'm just curious on that because that looks like it's in the Wolf Pit Road area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure if they just utilize the old pavement back. I don't have the history on that, or they actually put that in after the fact. But that's the main driveway into Camp Current, and this has a gate right now, but this is an overflow parking that they let them use for their fundraising events. Park in here.
All right, no, okay. I just wanted to double check on that because I saw what looked to be a paved road over there, so I thought I'd ask. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. So I think I do need a motion to accept the application at this point in time. And I'm sure we're going to hold off on making any determination until after the site walk. So can I get a motion to approve the application this evening?
So moved.
Receipt of the application?
Yeah,
I
who was
moved,
that?
Eisner moved.
Yeah. Second.
Rich, I'll second it to accept the application.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept the application as it was submitted prior to, and this is the first meeting we're having since it was submitted. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And Bruce, you'll set up the site walk.
Well, let's talk, if you don't mind, we got everybody here. Is anyone, I put in the agenda review, either the 15th or the 16th. Does anyone have any of those dates bad for anybody?
No, right now they look okay for me.
Yeah, is that Martin Luther King weekend?
Yes, it is.
It's what?
Martin Luther King.
Yeah, it's the 3-day weekend for some of us.
Correct.
good.
Monday
I didn't pick it
is
up,
the holiday.
Good pickup. I didn't see that. So
Yeah, it's hopefully I'll be away.
Please.
Other,
So,
well, the meeting's on the 19th, so we
Yeah,
could either,
this weekend we've
yeah.
got the snowstorm
yeah,
coming in.
we got
snow
snowstorm on
coming in.
Friday, so
You can do Monday, you can do Sunday.
you want to try for or if you're gonna be away, you want to try for, well, you'll be gone all weekend, right?
That's the plan. But, I'm just one person. If it works for the commission, go use that weekend, certainly.
Robert, is that the 15th and 16th you're out of town?
Yeah, if that's the 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
It is.
Should we try Sunday, this coming Sunday, or is it too close to the snow?
That's
I
what
mean,
I was just thinking.
It all depends on the weather after that. I mean, if it's going to warm up, then I'll tell you right now, Friday 18 degrees, Saturday 15 degrees, Sunday 19 degrees. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna take a wild guess on that one.
Well, that's the low. Sunday's supposed to be 37 degrees, but again, a chance of snow. So,
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. That was the nighttime, so 28 and 36 on Sunday. So, but a 60% chance of rain. So either that, or we can shoot for the Monday if everyone, I don't know, people's work schedules,
Monday the 17th.
Yeah, Monday the 17th on Martin Luther King. If everyone else is working.
Martin Luther King Day, isn't it?
It's
But I'm
the
sure-
holiday.
Yeah, I'll shoot for the 15th if everyone minds. Is that better or?
I mean, I would do that, send out an email to see who thinks they can make it.
Okay. Send out, so we'll plan on, I'll send out, 15. All right, I'll see what I can come up with. All right,
Okay.
all right. Next,
Next, we'll resume the public hearing for Calco. Are they on the line?
yes, they were.
I'm here. Yes.
Okay.
Just to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit, just so you know, Chair, I don't know when you want to go over it, but we did receive a couple more written correspondences. So I don't know if you want to save that to the end or if you want to do that first or however you want to proceed with that.
I mean, I went and looked. I didn't see any of the newer stuff. I mean, I apologize for that, but I mean, just for the public record, if there are some comments that came in, I would at least like you to, identify who it was that submitted the documents for the record.
These were all the ones we had before the meeting. We went through those.
Yeah.
I think it's the last two here. 15. Let me go to the end. I work my way back. Yeah, this one came in after the meeting on the 17th from Hannah and Thomas Burke.
Okay.
And 12 Whispering Rod, and they are talking about the water problems and fear of the development resulting in the removal of the natural barrier. So, and they urge to take objections into serious considerations and deny the request. And the other one is on 8 Twin Ponds from a Mitchell Scott, and writing today strong opposition as well, extremely concerned for the impact of the drinking water. So, and then all the other ones we went over at the
No, I just wanted to recognize those that came in since the last hearing date. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, Brian, go ahead.
All right. So for the record, Brian Panico, Harry Colin's son, 876 South Main Street in Plantsville. Also here tonight is Bart Beauvais, senior engineer from our office. I believe John Sinise, the applicant, Calco Construction, is here as well. So I'll just do a quick recap of property for any new public members who might be joining us. This is an R30 zone residential property. It's 14.39 acres. Currently is a single lot, which had a single family house, a barn, and quite a few outbuildings. Some of those have since been removed. Currently the barn is still in place. This is mostly wooded to the west of the site, which includes the wetlands, and cleared on most of the eastern part of the site. This was all originally a farm. As the commission knows from our site walk, everything's kind of started to grow up, and it's kind of a low underbrush at the moment. There's approximately 4 acres of wetlands on the site and 2.35 acres of upland review area. We are proposing an R30 cluster subdivision. This has a cul-de-sac, which serves 11 lots. The single family house and all the outbuildings are being removed. We have separated the overall area, which is one watershed, into 2 smaller watershed areas with 2 individual detention basins. And this has been before the commission in the past, and we've made quite a few modifications since then from the earlier application to remove one of the lots, shift the houses to the east and further away from the wetlands. And now I'll get into some of the changes that we've made since the last meeting, which just kind of go toward more significant changes since the previous application and whatnot. We've increased the size of the detention basins considerably, providing even more storage volume, even more surface area for infiltration, groundwater recharge area. And I believe currently we are reduced, and as the commission knows, we had talked about this slightly last meeting, increasing those pond sizes. In both cases, we have now reduced the runoff volume that's leaving the site by about 60,000 cubic feet. We have updated the biggest concern, I think, that we were talking about at the last meeting was kind of meeting staff comments. We have gone through and addressed the plan, majority of the staff comments. I believe Bruce noted, and we did receive some additional comments today. So there are still some comments that are outstanding, but I believe that where we stand right now, the majority of those comments are met. The majority of this stuff is we've kind of gone through just about everything we can go through on this project in discussion. And we are at a pretty good point where we feel as though this is probably the best design that we could possibly come up with. We've elevated these houses. We've raised the road elevations. We've done everything we can to keep everything as high as possible and outside of groundwater. Yes, some basements will be in groundwater. You know, we have raised this up and made the storm drainage system deeper so that all of the footing drains gravity flow to the collection system, and then that then there flows into the basins. Those basins being so large provide a lot of protection to the wetlands, both from a runoff perspective. There's a very, very, very small window on this site that if water's moving across that site, it's not going to end up in the basin. That happens very, very rarely and in very small portions of the site. So we have provided a lot of water quality. We've gone and done a lot of additional testing, way above and beyond what we would normally do and what we have normally done in the past for studies for simple subdivisions like this in Farmington. You know, we've tested for percolation rates to make sure that that water is going to drain into the soil. We talked about that in depth last week, or at the last meeting rather. And I think at this point, if there's any additional comments and questions and concerns, I don't know if Bruce, if you'd like, you know, us to kind of, I know some of those comments came in late and there's some additional stuff to talk about. If you want us to kind of just address that right now and just kind of talk about it, or if commission has any other questions first, and then we can get into some of the finer details of that.
I'll leave that up to the chair at this point, because like I said, I sent those comments out late. Again, being the point, I had a lot of plans dropped off during the Christmas holiday break that we had to go through. So I had a lot of work to get out, and so I finished those. I got most of the large comments in the agenda review, and we sent out comments earlier, and I can go over those with the commission after.
And that's probably fine. I know that there's some general comments that Bruce put together. that I know that we have talked about previously. And some of that had to do with the elevation of the homes, the basements, whether or not they're in the water table, a high groundwater area or an area of mottling. Again, just to try to figure out what's going on with some of the potential development on the site. And I think you might have addressed a little bit of that, about some of the houses being raised. And I think you made a comment also, excuse me, about the footing drains, thinking how those are being handled. So.
Yeah, and I can go into a little further details. Is that what you're looking for?
I'd like to hear a little bit about it, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, our stance is that, basements are generally, it happens, they are within the groundwater table. That's the entire purpose of footing drains. If we kept every house a foot above the high water elevation mark, then no one would ever need footing drains. So it's not, it just doesn't, in our professional opinion, as far as I can remember, normally we do subdivisions with water and sewer that don't include septic. We don't normally do test pits. We don't normally go out there and dig test pits for every application and show soil testing data and show depth to groundwater and get soil scientists out there to take readings of groundwater and do all these things for every application. I understand that this is a specific application. There were a lot of questions in the past, and that's kind of how it all came up. But the concern I think that staff had and what they've noted in their report was some of these basements. And like I said, we did raise the elevations of these, but I mean, realistically speaking, we can't raise a house, 3 feet and make it where all of a sudden we're bringing in, thousands and thousands and thousands of cubic yards of material just to keep every house outside of the, or put 12% driveways where you're pulling out of your driveway, going down a super steep hill into the road just to keep houses out of the groundwater table. So we've done a lot of massaging of the elevations of these houses so that the basements of these houses are as high as possible. There are a couple of these, I think that, Bruce even noted in there, some of these he was afraid would need sump pumps. Our whole point with the gravity feeding of these is that, yes, they may be putting these in and there may be high groundwater in some of these areas, in some of these lots. Some of them, that's not the case, but if we're 2 feet into the groundwater, that's the exact reason why you'd put a footing drain in. And that's exactly why they put footing drains in in most new houses today, because you don't know exactly where that groundwater table is necessarily in every case. And that's going to keep all these basements dry. Now, are those going to flow regularly and often during the seasonal high groundwater time periods? They very well may, but that's why we try to avoid using sump pumps and avoid using anything mechanical and kept that all gravity so that those will drain naturally. At this, I think that there's, a few of these where we show the footing drains, we show how they connect, and so on the back side they drain to the basin, on the west side they drain to the basin, everything on the eastern side drains to the detention system. I'm not sure if there's any further question on that, but our stance on this, and the owner of the property, John, can certainly chime in. He's done quite a few houses. He's done quite a bit of work with footing drains. He's the one who stakes his reputation on making sure that these basements stay dry and do all these things. And so we're confident that the plan that we've designed does that and will do that in the future.
Chair, if you don't mind if I interject on a second on that?
For the record. I'm sorry, Bruce, what did you say?
Just if you don't mind if I interject in a second on that?
No, go ahead.
As part of the comments, you'll see I do have we did a lot of the design or review of the actual footing drains, and you'll see that there's quite a few of those homes are on sump pumps. I want to say there's like 3 or 4 that are not on a sump pump. So that's based on putting the, again, in the comments, you'll see it's roughly 14 inches below the basement is where the footing drain is going to go. And based on the area drainage and or contours there, to see where it can daylight, it proved that most of those are on the sump pump. So that's what our biggest concern is on that.
And I'll have to look into that further. And I can ask John right now, you know, John, do you typically put your footing drains 14 inches below slab elevation, or is there a design standard that you normally use? And if need be, we can certainly look at lowering the drainage system even more. But then again, you know, I also want to I'm sitting here wondering, you know, if we do need footing drains, you know, or if we have these footing drains and we do need sump pumps, you know, I'm just at a loss here as to, you know, what's indicating that these are going to be running constantly all year round when we've done all these studies and we have all this water data. You know, we can certainly try to do this. We can't raise the houses anymore without raising the entire road and bringing in, like I said, thousands and thousands of cubic feet of material, or creating these situations where, you know, the road is at elevation 100, call it, and your garage elevation's at 110, and, you know, it's a 30-foot driveway.
Hey.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm trying to chat in there. Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you,
I
John.
can hear you. Okay, good. Hi, John Sinise calling. I'm on here. Don't mind me, I never do this. This is totally new to me, Zoom. So, look, we've built over 500 homes throughout Connecticut. Many of our subdivisions, basements are below the high groundwater. And when we have a situation like that, what our practice is we put exterior footing drains and we put interior footing drains. So we do two systems, and we fill the basements with crushed stone. Then we lead it to the sump pump chamber and we install the pumps. We also keep the stone 2 inches above the footing. So when we cap the floor, we have stone that basically creates a drain around the perimeter of the inside of the home, so no water can weep up into the basement. And we're proud to say that we've built 500 homes plus, and we never had a wet basement. Now, we do have homes with pumps, right? And those pumps would be activated during high groundwater periods, you know, maybe 1 week, could be 3 weeks, could be a month out of the year. But it's not a practice to say we got to keep all the homes above groundwater. Yes, we would love to put drainage systems to daylight and have gravity flow, but that doesn't always happen for us. You know, it's the conditions of the topo, the lay of the land. You can't necessarily go to daylight with drainage. And we're doing a subdivision right now in Farmington, Tambark Chase. We have homes there that can't go to daylight, and we provide for some pumps. And there's high groundwater there as well. So that's a typical problem in every development. So I don't really know why we're trying to raise these homes above high groundwater. It's never been a problem for us in any other community. And even in Farmington, we've built homes in Farmington. Ryan Flesh Farms, Pavarell Estates, Bruce. All those homes have some pumps, every one of them, all 15. So I think we're trying to discuss a problem and how to remedy it. It's done every day in the construction world for building homes. Everybody hear me?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, again, I think it's just a matter of discussing the situation and what's going on or what's being proposed out there, so everybody has a better understanding of what it is that's being proposed.
I mean, sorry about this here. Did you all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we did.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Thank you, John.
Bruce, are there members of the public that are signed in?
Yeah, we do have some. Do you want us to do a roll call to see if anybody wants to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and get that out of the way before we go to commission members. We've had a few too many of these public hearings where the public has to stay up pretty late. So just trying to see if we can get this out of the way at this point in time.
All right, so for anyone that's online that would like to speak, there in the Zoom function, there's a raise your hand feature. If you go down to the bottom or wherever it is on your screen, there's a raise your hand. If you raise your hand, we will call on you as we go through. All right, let's start with a Jose Ruiz. I will allow you to talk. Go ahead, sir. Unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Jose Ruiz. I'm at 20 Whispering Rod Road. I've called before to express my opposition to this, plan. Yes, there have been changes to the plan, but, we've changed from 12 houses down to, 11 houses. That is still a substantial number of houses. In the past and again tonight, the message that we get is that we've done this in the past, trust us, this is not a problem. And as it was mentioned in December, the risks of things going wrong are being, potentially being borne by the neighbors, and all the benefits are, will go to, the applicant. Again, the amount of vegetation, trees that are being removed, I know that there's great plans being put in place, basins and everything. That's all man-made. That may work for the first 5 years, 10 years, but then after that, man-made things cannot compete with, nature. So that area, the amount of trees and vegetations that are currently, what little protection we have in the area, are going to be taken away, and the neighbors are going to be stuck with an even worse situation. And one comment that I want to make, because in the past there have been comments, that the neighborhoods, are kind of asking for the applicant to solve the problems. I'm not asking for them to solve my current problem. What I'm asking is that the current issues that I may have with water in my backyard do not get worse. Okay, I know what I have right now. I'm living with that. My concerns is that this planned construction is going to make my situation even worse, even though that there's the best intentions, but again, man-made things cannot replace what is being taken away by nature. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Would you like us to kind of address questions like concerns as we go, or wait for everybody to kind of comment? And
I would prefer to have people make their comments. Because again, there may be some questions that are raised by the public that some of the commissioners may have as well.
Okay.
All right, the next person we have is Bill Bartuca. I will unmute. I'll allow you to talk. So if you want to state your name and your address.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Bill Bartuk at 50 Redcoat Lane. My question is relative to if the development is approved. Is it appropriate to ask that question now, or will I have an opportunity to ask it later?
Well, you'd have to ask. This is open for public comment at this point, so you'll have to express any kind of concern
Okay.
at this point.
I'm just trying to make sure I'm not asking questions out of order.
That's fine.
Okay, my position hasn't changed and as articulated by many of the neighborhood. However, if the development is approved, will there be an inspection by the design engineers during and post contractor build to ensure the detention ponds were built according to the design specifications? That's my question.
I mean, I'll answer that one for you. I mean, I think that's something that should this project go forward, and again, just say if it goes forward, that's something that we could work out as a condition of approval, to have regular meetings out on the site to make sure that the systems are installed according to plan. And I would think that the applicant, would be okay with that because again, they want to make sure that it goes in according to plan as well.
Yeah, because I think as we all know, things sometimes don't get built as they were designed and therefore precipitate problems. And that would be at least one firewall if this thing proceeds. But as previously stated, my position hasn't changed. And it's just prudent to make sure all is in proper order if we were to proceed.
Understood, and thank you for the question.
Yeah, and I just wanted to get it on record, but like I said, I'm with everybody else with the concerns and risks. So thank you, and yield the floor back.
All right, I have another one. There's no name, it's a Zoom user. I'll allow you to talk. If you could just state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Hello, my name is Eric O'Keefe. I'm at 44 Redcoat Lane. Essentially, thank you. Essentially, I have, it's going to boil down to one simple question for the commission. But really, given the water problems and the surrounding wetland issues, the surrounding properties are already at a point of system overload. The current proposal before us has changed little in its content since the original inception years ago. I see that many council members have repeatedly thanked the developers and all their expert representatives for the volume of work that they've done on this issue. I don't ignore the amount of work and time they've spent before the commission. However, all the work they've done over the years still doesn't guarantee that their development isn't going to overstress an already overstressed area. I'm not asking the commission, given the surrounding properties problems, that realistically shouldn't the requirement for further development and disturbance of the wetland areas be to guarantee no disturbance to the surrounding existing properties in the wetland areas. In the last meeting, it was pointed out by the developer that they have the right to develop their property, and I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. I would also point out that the property owners have a right not to have their properties infringed on or harmed by their neighbors. As the saying goes, your liberty to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. Every proposal that they've put forward to date, and there have been many over time, is yet to guarantee no harm to the neighboring properties. They've used words and terms like hopefully, or there shouldn't be much or any, or we assume based on our models. These terms don't mean any level of certainty that should be given to the existing members of the community, to hopefully whom the commission is working very hard to represent, and I appreciate that. For example, last time the soil scientist made a strong statement that he knew the composition of the neighbor's soil downstream of the project, but I'm unaware of any people that are on the call or sitting in or any neighbors in the neighborhood that's had any soil samples taken from their yards or anything like that. So we're making assumptions and we're doing some of their science based on assumptions for things that we can't guarantee. Adding more logs to the fire is not going to put out the fire. It's going to make the fire larger. Calico and their paid representatives have not promised the neighbors nor the commission that they will do no further harm, only that they hope that they won't. Brian himself said tonight that this proposal is the best that they can offer. Brian has offered his best professional opinions tonight, but that's all they are, opinions of someone without a long-term vested interest in the community. The experts in the community are the people that are before you and have spoken out in verbal and in writing. We are the people that are living in the area and we see what is happening to the wetlands over time. We see the stresses that are here every day, and we live with them. And we're sharing passionately our feelings about protecting the wetland areas. So my question is really simple. Who's going to guarantee no harm here? Who's going to stand up and be accountable when the surrounding properties have detrimental effects from this development? Is it going to be Calico? Are they going to be the ones that's liable? Will it be the experts? The soil and the wetland scientists hired by Calico? Will be the project manager? Will be the city that's left to foot another bill? I thank the commission for their time and their consideration in their matter, and I'm putting my trust in each one of you to look out for the whole of the wetlands and all of the neighbors, not just to the part of the wetlands that's represented by these little dotted lines on the development plan that is up before us right now. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the ability to comment.
Thank you for your time and your comments.
Thank you. We've got one more, Stephen Lawler. If you can please state your name and your address, please.
Thank you. My name is Steve Lawler. I am at 154 Coppermine Road. Just to kind of piggyback and echo on the previous gentleman's comments, this company has been paid to find an acceptable solution and one that will work for this development. Back in 2015, when this was rejected by the previous commission, one of the reasons for rejection was that a independent third-party review was requested. And at the time, I believe that Calico had denied to pay for and fund something like that. So I was just wondering if that would be something that this commission would be requesting now. Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing. There was a third party reviewing the previous application, and the company did pay for that.
Thank you.
Have that as part of the record.
Is there anything else?
That's all I have to add.
Okay. We got one more that just popped up.
Okay.
Mr. E. Larry, please state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Kathy Leary, Mrs. Edward Leary, and I live at 19 Whispering Rod Road. Looking at the plans for the 11 house development, and I know that the drainage basins or the detention basins were enlarged, and it looks, I'm terribly worried about maybe children who live in these homes and being so close to the detention basins and the danger from that proximity to the danger to the detention basins. Are there any comparable developments in town where the detention basins lie so close to the homes? It's especially lot 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, very all along the roadway or behind the homes. The detention basins look very close to the homes, and I'm concerned about that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, let me see. Is that it? Yep, we've got one more. Sarah, I apologize, Ringoette, if you can please state your name and your address.
Yes, hi, can you hear me? This is Sarah Ringoette. I'm at 17 Whispering Rod Road.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yes, we can. Okay, I want to echo my neighbors' concerns, in particular Jose and Eric's comments. And something my husband relayed to me just now is just wanting to make sure that the list of maintenance or the activities that need to occur, we want to make sure that if this does proceed, that the town or whomever is going to be responsible for maintaining that. It's a concern we all have, obviously, with our wet property. So thank you for that. That's it.
Comments?
All right, so you got that. Let's see. I don't see any other name. I don't see anyone else with the raised hand. We'll do a last call. If anyone has a question or would like to make a comment, please raise your hand using the Zoom function. I don't see anybody else. I think that's it, Chair. You're on mute.
Bob, you're
Chairman,
on mute.
Chairman, you're on mute.
Oh, you know, it's getting late.
Yep.
Okay, Ned, sorry. Any comments, questions, anything you want for the record?
I had a question on the sedimentation plan. They're calling out proposed temporary sediment basin, detention basin not to be used as temporary sediment basin during construction. And that's kind of got me confused. I mean, if it's not to be, if it's temporary and it's not to be used during construction, then when is it to be used?
So we have temporary sedimentation control basins called out on those southern property, that southern border there to protect,
northern.
or sorry, on the western side of those houses there. That is simply to protect that basin. So that basin will be used obviously long term. The temporary sediment basins are going to be in place during construction to protect that area from becoming overly filled with sediment and
Want to come up here? Puppy. I'm sorry.
If people aren't speaking, can they please mute their phones? Thank you. Or computers.
So the intent is that the detention basins that are going to be permanent will not be used as temporary sediment basins for construction during construction. That's a comment that we addressed. I understand that there are some miscellaneous notes. That's a practice that we generally do use, is we use them as temporary, and that's why there are a couple of locations on the plans where we call them out to be used. That is not the intent. We are staff have made that a couple of different comments about that. Plans will be addressed completely to address that concern that they will not be used. The permanent basins, detention, retention basins, will not be used as sediment basins during construction. Okay. So our temporary basins that we've located throughout, those are only in place during construction of the road and all the homes in order to protect the actual permanent basins.
Okay.
And, to kind of follow up on top of that, because kind of addresses some of the concerns that were discussed as well. We have talked to staff. We have gone through, this will require a stormwater pollution control plan, which will get into even further detail with the construction process. We will be doing monitoring on site and reporting back to town staff with the construction and how everything is progressing, making sure that there's no impacts to wetlands, making sure that there's no, very turbid water running off site, and that that everything is being maintained properly, and that the construction is going correctly in that fashion. So there will be, more oversight than just the, if this is approved, somebody saying, okay, it's approved, go ahead, build it, do whatever you want. There will be oversight from both a professional representative of the developer and the town staff.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ned. Mark?
Yeah, I have a question about these permanent detention basins. Somebody please refresh my memory. Is there some type of, does the water as it pipes in there into these basins, is there some type of spreader or some place where the water flows through before it enters into the basins? The reason I'm asking is I want to know if those things become clogged too, and what is the life expectancy if there is such a device? I'm just trying to remember. It's been going on for a while. What type of what's being put into? How is that all water flowing into the basin?
So all the water collected in the catch basins, the catch basin before the basin itself has a deep sump, has a hood on it. It then flows down into that kind of pre-treatment area with the berm, with a riprap berm there, and then continues to flow into the pond. There is another berm at the outlet control structure, which protects the outlet control structure. So really the entire area within that basin, with the exception of the area obviously directly around between the berm and the outlet control structure, is all being used to allow for the settlement of sediment and anything during a storm event as water flows out of that basin, to try to keep that water as clean as possible as it before it enters the wetlands. And so in enlarging these basins, not only obviously are we storing more water, are we providing more retention of that area, but now we're also infiltrating more of that water and providing even greater amount of water quality volume within that area as well.
So how long is this apparatus? How long is the life expectancy? Do they have to be replaced after a while, or they lifetime? And nothing's lifetime. What is the expectation they would have to be maintained in the future?
I know that, based on, the most recent set of comments indicate, that during construction, this street is going to be swept monthly. And again, the basin's cleaned twice a year and all these different things. So really you worry about sediment getting into these basins more at the very beginning as things are starting to actually stabilize. Once they're stable, the amount of sediment actually getting in there should be very minimal. The actual riprap itself, may need to be, cleaned every 5-10 years. It all really depends on how much, sand is ending up or silt is ending up in that basin itself, and potentially then could end up clogging up that kind of riprap berm. These are overall, these are not designed to be, very labor intensive, maintenance wise. They're all grass, these basins, so it really should be something that's really just being mowed and regularly cleaned of debris, and these basins should last with very little maintenance.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thanks, Mark. Neil?
No, I don't have any other questions at this point for the developer.
Robert?
The only question I have is Brian, have you seen the latest staff comments from Bruce?
I got a chance to look at them very briefly right before the meeting.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is I'm hoping we're going to be able to close the hearing tonight, so I'd like to know on the record if there are any concerns with being able to address staff comments that likely would be a condition of approval should we move in that direction. But I think the initial response, acknowledgement, and ability to comply with those conditions would be good to have on the record.
I think we're very confident that we can work with staff on the remaining comments to try to kind of button everything up to their liking moving forward. If it was a condition of approval that we meet all staff comments, I don't necessarily see anything that stuck out as an issue. I know another big kind of comment, concern, question. Staff was out with Barton Beauvais from our office, and there were some trees that had fallen and some across the brook, and there was questions of can that be removed. I know I discussed that with David Lord this afternoon, and he indicated to me that he thought, you know, and I myself as well, Barton as well, that, you know, those are things that portions of the larger trees can be removed out of that area. David said he could come up with some suggestions on how to do all that stuff maybe manually with little equipment to not just make any more disturbance. And I think staff, you know, we're working with staff to that. I think that was really the major new comment. The remaining stuff was all kind of comments that were from, I think, more or less originally that have kind of been overlooked, or we were trying to maybe wait until a later time to, like, changing the road name. You know, the applicant can work with staff on coming up with a road name, stuff like that. But I think we're pretty confident we can work with staff to work the rest of these things out.
Okay, thank you, because as you may know, it's common for the commission to issue approvals with conditions for final details to be resolved with staff. So I'm not hearing that there are any significant, and I also would welcome any input from Mr. Sinise if there's any concern about staff comments. And again, this is in hopes of closing the public hearing portion tonight. We'll still have some additional time after tonight's meeting to be able to refine our thoughts on the decision. Mr. Sinise, are there any concerns with staff comments?
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
John McGarry.
Yeah, I reviewed the staff comments. I didn't see any issues with the addressing the comments.
Okay, thank you. That's all that I have, Mr. Hinman. Thanks.
Thanks, Robert. Dave?
I just want to put on the record that I did watch the entire proceeding of December 1st. And I read all the material, so I'm up to date when I wasn't there. At this point, I don't have any further questions.
Emily, anything?
No, I will next time. Right
Okay.
now, no.
Okay. Rich?
Just one question on the operation of the sedimentation. I know there was somebody from the community who asked the question, we had concerns about water being in the basins. How are those basins supposed to work during a storm event? Are they at the end of a storm event? Will they be dry, or will there always be a wet basin?
So they will not always be a wet basin. They will dry out. I don't know if I have the numbers exactly in front of me, but we did do the percolation tests. And so in our percolation tests, we calculated that we actually figured out what the infiltration rate would be in those basins. We did the test within those areas. One of the ponds drains at about 3 inches per hour, or about 6 inches per hour is what we calculated. What we used for our actual modeling was 3 inches per hour. The other one was about 10 inches per hour. And we used 5 inches per hour for the actual model. So there may be some water as we are trying to keep the, basically we're trying to keep some water in that basin and slow it down. We're not letting it just drain through completely. So like on this detail that Bruce pulled up here, you can see we have the bottom of the V notch in that structure is at a 334.5. The bottom of the basin is a 334. So we have 6 inches of area that water can't just freely flow through, but that 6 inches of water should be draining out of the bottom of that basin pretty quickly following a storm. So this isn't going to be a situation where we're going to have water sitting in basins for weeks at a time. It'll be immediately following storm events.
So you're saying it'll be a matter, following a storm event, it'll be a matter of hours before the ponds will infiltrate into the ground?
It could be a little bit longer than just a matter of hours. It would depend on the amount of the rainstorm duration, the amount of rainstorms, if it's been, raining for, and this is why, to go back to a couple of the other comments, and Bart, has a lot more experience than me. I'm sure he'd love to chime in. We can't make guarantees on this. I mean, for me to say, oh, I guarantee that there will never be an impact to anything ever, certain things happen, nature happens. There could be the 500-year storm and 3/4 of the town of Farmington could be underwater. I mean, these things happen. That's not something that's in our control. What we look at doing is designing strictly to, what the design standards are in the regulations, what the design standards are called out for, and that's what we do. So with the way that this basin is designed, within 24 hours, we would expect this basin to be dry.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, just to follow up a little bit on that, use your example of, say maybe we've had a good week of rain, so the ground is pretty saturated, and then we get that major storm. I mean, would you expect the basins to have water in them more than 24 hours then? I mean, again, where I'm going with this is I'm looking at the slopes, and you've got a minimum 3-to-1 slope, which can be kind of steep. So again, going to the comment from the public that if you had a child or a number of children out there, a 3-to-1 slope is difficult to get out of. There's no like slope bench or anything like that, for safety reasons. So if there was a concern that people had, would a potential option be actually fencing the detention basins in? Is that something that might be a viable option from a safety perspective?
The other thing, I just would I would bring up is the depth of these basins. These aren't very deep. We're looking at, if you look at the diagram here right in front of you, our bottom of basin is elevation 334. Our top elevation is 336.5. So it's really only 2.5 feet deep from top of berm to bottom of basin. And granted, I understand that, in the event, this was the, peak of a storm, basin is full, and a bunch of kids are out there playing in the rain, it could be dangerous if if it needs to be fenced. I don't know, John, do you want to chime in? Do you have any opposition to fencing, at least maybe fencing along the property lines where these basins abut houses, or fencing around the basins?
No, fencing along the rear of the property line, we wouldn't have a problem doing. I don't think you need to go around them. I haven't done that on any subdivision. And I don't think I ever fenced in the detention system in any subdivisions. I mean, we're doing one on Tambar Chase right now. There's a pond right next to 2 houses. That's not fenced in at all. It's probably equal to this depth. But if the commission would like us to run a fence along the rear of the property line of the homes to
create a barrier, at least.
Create a barrier, a chain link fence, typically probably like a 4-footer. I would not opposed to doing that.
I just want to get it out on the table so that we discussed it. So
yep,
see what some of the potential options are. Because again, unfortunately, it doesn't take a whole lot of water for somebody to drown. So, I've heard like 6 inches can do it. So again, just trying to look at what we can maybe look at for safety issues. And it may be that we don't feel as though we need it, but again, I just at least wanted to get it on the record. So thank you. I don't really have a whole lot more. I know that, there were some plans that were submitted in the latter part of December with updates and things, and the town is going through the reviews. I know there still has to be some probably back and forth between town staff and the applicant and his engineers. but I really don't have anything else at this point in time. I think we've talked about the project quite a bit. I know we've talked about some of the issues that came up when the initial subdivision was proposed. So unless anybody else has any further comments they want to make from the commission, I would be inclined at this point in time, again, following up with Robert's comments and discussion, I would be inclined to go ahead and close the hearing at this point in time, and then start going back and doing a review. So, okay, good. David Lord is here. So now I will ask my question. I had asked you at the last meeting, because I checked earlier and I didn't see you there. I had asked you the last time if you could take a look at what the subsurface drainage was like, and you said you'd take a look at that. Is there anything that you can enlighten me on?
First of all, Mr. Chairman, I apologize for that. I was at a meeting in Bristol and needed to get back to a computer that I could join your meeting. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, wasn't sure. So I had to get back to a computer that I could join your meeting, so I apologize for that. That one was only in person meeting, so I had to be there for that one. The subsurface drainage, which area in particular are you concerned with?
Well, I'm just concerned about the general subsurface flow and where that's going, because again, we've had the neighbors talking about some of the water problems they have, and some of it sounds like it's surface water and some of it sounds like it's subsurface water. So I'm just trying to get an idea of what the patterns are like in this area, and with the type of soils, the length of time it may take to get from, say, the detention basins that are proposed here to some of the abutting neighborhoods. Just in general terms. I'm not looking for specific calculations, but again, I'm just trying to tie in the timing in terms of when you have a rainstorm and when some of the downstream neighbors may end up seeing, or hopefully not seeing, any results coming from this subdivision should it be approved.
Okay, in general, the surface flows from this development are contained within the proposed detention basins. They're collected and metered out at the design velocity, or excuse me, the design discharges to meet existing conditions from the site. Subsurface flows where you're impacting water that's infiltrated into the soil through that is going to be a much slower process getting to the wetland. And from my perspective, those flows are beneficial to the wetland because they result in base flow conditions which keep wetlands saturated longer than if we cut off that water from their hydrologic connection. The basins, to get back to those are for storm events, design storm events. They can be calculated. The peak rates of discharge and duration of discharge are all done with meeting current conditions, discharging from this portion of the drainage area. Subsurface flows, we're not doing anything that's going to be detrimental to the wetlands or the discharge of groundwater from this site. It is actually going to be a benefit in putting some of the water into the ground. It will slow its release into the wetlands in the watercourse and areas further to the north. I don't know, does that answer?
Yeah, it helps. And then just sort of a follow-up, because one of the issues that came up on the original subdivision was the initial design called for some of the water to be exposed to daylight and the sun for a rather significant period of time, and we were concerned about thermal impacts of the stormwater getting out. So with the design here, yes, there may be some water that overflows where you have the outlets, but it seems like a lot of this is more designed for infiltration. So in your opinion, what impact does that have on thermal effect?
The factors that influence this type of development are much, much, much smaller in scope than, say, from a large parking lot area that has a heating element from the pavement before it goes into detention basins. This water is being collected in subsurface drainage system. It's being piped from those catch basins underground into the detention basin. It's being moved through the detention base as any availability.
I don't know if he's aware he's going in and out.
Yeah.
For causing. Hello?
We're
Yeah.
losing you, Dave. You're going in and out.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we can
We
hear you
are
now.
now, but if you could repeat, yeah, if you could repeat the last 3 sentences or so, that would be helpful for the record, because it was not clear.
Okay, I don't have them written down, so.
I understand.
If I missed something, let me know.
Understood.
What's happening here is that the water is being collected in the drainage system in the roadway. It's going through a catch basin into piping, which is directing it to the detention basin. As that water builds up, new water comes in and ultimately pushes out some of the existing water in the basin. There's a inflow and an outflow gradient for some of that water. Once those elevations are reached and water sits in the basin, it's only the surface area of the detention basin itself that has any thermal component possibility. The duration time for this water to reside in the detention basin before it is discharged is in a matter of hours to 24 hours. I've seen no research that I have either looked at or heard of that shows there is a thermal impact from this type of a stormwater management system from a residential development. Those impacts are significant only when there is a large heating surface available for where the water falls onto pavement. It's up and moves and quickly is discharged to a detention basin and quickly discharged from the detention basin into a receiving body of water. We're talking about a completely vegetated wetland system, small to very short duration ponding water in the detention basin. I have seen no evidence in the literature or research that I have studied that shows any negative thermal impact. Remember, this wetland system is totally forested. It's totally covered by trees. It's totally covered by shrub understory. It has ground cover vegetation. There's a lot of mitigation going on, Mother Nature minimizing the effect of any thermal gradient from the development into the wetland.
All right, thank you. I just wanted, and I had the question, I just wanted to get your answer on the record. So thank you, I appreciate it. I do not have anything else. Again, do any commission members have any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is Ned. As we were just, the thing we're talking about the fencing around the sediment basins, I don't know how well that would look, but I just think that there's other options. You could make the edges of the basin less steep and that might achieve the safety that you're looking for. And I don't know, and make it, because with the steep sides, it's more of a chance of falling in, whereas if it was less steep, I don't know if there's room for that, but I think that's an option that should be considered.
I
As
don't
opposed to
disagree.
fencing.
I was just throwing out a possible idea as a way to, maybe think about minimizing risk of the detention basins. That's all. So I'm open to.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments for the applicant or the engineer? Well, Shannon and Bruce, I'm at this point in time, I'm tempted to go ahead and close the meeting because I don't think there's going to be much more in the way of material that would be coming in. It's now a matter of going over what's been submitted. I know Robert raised the issue and got some responses there. So I think we have a bunch of stuff on the record where we would be able to go ahead and close the hearing at this point in time. But I just want to run it by you and Bruce and see what your take is.
I don't have any concerns. You?
No, it's just as long as the commission is not, there's no one on the commission that has an outstanding question that has not been answered to their satisfaction that would require any additional information. Obviously, the staff comments are on record. So any response to those staff comments is permitted. But obviously, once the hearing's closed, then as we're all aware, then that's it. So if folks are ready, then that's fine. I don't think staff has anything else other than what's already been enumerated in the agenda reviews and in Bruce's comment letter.
All right. I mean, I'm of the opinion that, from the questions that I had, I think they've been asked in at least there's been an answer provided. So I think I'm okay, but I'll just go ahead and ask folks if they're comfortable with it. So Rich, I'll start with you. Is Rich still there?
Yeah, I can see him on. There we go.
Darn mute button. No, I'm fine. I don't have a problem with closing the hearing.
Emily?
Emily's not here anymore.
Yeah, Emily is not on the call at the moment, Mr. Chair.
Dave?
All set.
Robert?
Yes, because anything that we deal with from here forward would just be a clarification of things that were addressed during the hearing, so we should be okay.
Neil?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Mark?
I'm good.
Ed?
I was debating whether to bring this up, but just a general speaking, there's right now, I know they're going to give us open space B at the far north end of the property that abuts up to a little cross angle section of a town of Farmington property. Now I live in this area and on Bella Lane, and I know there's a lot of wildlife, and I know that this is kind of like a wildlife corridor. And I was just wondering, it seems like we're kind of cutting off this corridor, and I know they went from 12 to 11 units, housing units, but I was just wondering if there was anything that can be done to try and allow for the corridor, to continue in this area. I know it could mean maybe shortening a lot in the area, lot 7 and 6 or something else, but I'm going to throw that out there and see if there's any kind of response to it, and if anybody else shares this stuff, because after you go to West District Road, there's a large wooded area for West District, open space, West District School open space, and some of our new open space that we've gotten from the homestead. And then on the other side, the pathway leads to our huge Farmington forest area. So it is kind of a wetland, has always created a kind of a natural corridor for wildlife passage. And we are going to kind of lose that. And as a member of the Conservation Commission, it is a bit of a concern for me. And I'll just leave it at that.
I do, Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify, and Commissioner Stachin, the entire western portion where the wetland is also obviously being left undeveloped and is continuing. So that is also being, I believe, deeded over to the town. Is that correct, Mr.
Yes.
Sir?
Yep.
So that corridor, that entire northwest corridor is part of that wetland system, and water course is being deeded over to the town and left as open space. So, and then, it's what, almost 8 acres I'm looking at there. So 8 acres being left for the northwest corridor, north-south corridor, which connects to Twin Ponds to the south. So it's another thing, just for folks to consider as you're looking at the detention basin and depth of the detention basin. Twin Ponds is immediately south of this development and is obviously has 2 ponds. That's the name of the neighborhood. But those backyards abut immediately to those water bodies. And even, so there's Twin Ponds, and then there's just down, there's Fieldstone Run down the way. So I mean, we can see all the water body. When you zoom out and take a look at the aerials, there's Fieldstone Run. So there's 2 right there, right immediately adjacent to a neighborhood, an active neighborhood. Fieldstone Run, perhaps a little more, or sorry, Twin Ponds with backyards coming right up to where those ponds are. It's fairly common in Farmington with the volume of wetlands and water courses that we have, to have either, a water course that peaks with the storm, or to have a water body of some type in close proximity to the residential properties. But you can see that, the Twin Ponds, to the south, and then the Memorial Forest beyond that, it all contain, so that will connect to the open space that's going to be deeded over on the west side. So that's all. I just wanted to, as we're talking, kind of add that to help with perspective and an overall view of what we're looking at.
Thanks, Shannon. Does that help, Ned?
Yeah, I understand that the open space A is being deeded over to town, and then that little corner open space B is abuts against the area here. That is also, has a small stream going through it. And I just, I was hoping to make that a continuous corridor right through there. Yeah. But that's just an opinion. I take it for what it's worth.
Okay, anything else?
No.
All right. So I guess at this point in time, we'll close the hearing on the 168 Copper Mine Road application. So we're not taking in any new information. We've received a number of correspondence from neighbors. So with the close of the hearing, we're not taking in any more correspondence that's part of the record. So I think that does it, doesn't it? Shannon, Bruce?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. So we close the public hearing, I would say 9:25, give or take.
Agreed.
And go on to the planner's report.
Are we gonna get a vote to close? Do we have to get a vote to close it or no?
No. We need to
No,
vote.
you don't need a vote. Okay. Nope. We're good. Okay, sorry about that.
No, you do these infrequently. You kind of remember what the protocol is. So I appreciate the input, believe me.
Okay. No problem.
Planners report.
Planners report, we don't have anything at this time.
Okay, minutes. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes of December 1st, 2021?
So
Moved and seconded?
I
think Ned.
didn't get any of that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Ned was.
Ned was first? Okay, Ned.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who seconded? If you don't mind.
Do we have a second for the?
I'll second
please?
Robert
Thank- Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments, corrections, modifications? Hearing none. Those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining?
Dave will abstain.
Okay. And so we will adjourn this Wetlands Commission meeting at 9:26. And call to order the Conservation Commission meeting. And first item on the agenda is the Land Acquisition Committee report, and I understand the meeting was canceled, so there is none.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a planner's report for Conservation Commission?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. And can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December 1st, 2021 Conservation Commission meeting?
This is Rich, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second by Robert.
Any questions, comments, corrections? Hearing none. Those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining?
Dave will abstain again.
Okay. So we're done here. And just for clarification purposes, the next meeting is on the 19th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And where are we time-wise with the Calico application? Just to try to get our bearings.
So you're fine because you closed the hearing, so a new time clock starts. You have 35 days to render a
Okay.
decision. And
Okay,
you still have 36 days of extension time frame available to you.
okay,
So hopefully that's not needed. It can be handled within the 35 days.
okay. Well, thank you. Well, thank you all. Happy New Year. And it's going to be interesting getting back to 2 a month. So, and Bruce, you'll send out some information on the site walk date and time, right?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
Okay.
I believe that does it for this evening.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night, night, everybody.
Good night.
Safe.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.